Let's take a brief look at the Butcher's Barbecue Pack. This was the 8th weapon pack released for Payday 2 and is all about fire. From the weapons to the masks, this pack has everything to play to the fancies of the pyromaniac inside us all. Let's get into it. The first weapon up is the Stakeout 12-gauge shotgun, otherwise known as the AA-12. This is one of the few auto shotguns available in the game, only being rivaled by, at the time of this video's release, the free ISMA 12-gauge. So it's fair to compare the two. If it wasn't clear, the difference between an auto shotty and a normal shotgun is that the normal variety will only fire once upon pulling the trigger, and generally have a considerable amount of cooldown between blasts. However, the Stakeout and ISMA will fire continuously while the trigger is held, at a comparatively high rate of fire. This allows for these weapons to clear rooms at lightning speeds, only being interrupted by an empty magazine. This is an area that the Stakeout beats out the ISMA in. As with the drum mag modification, this AA-12 boasts 20 rounds per reload, and can be further expanded to 35 with the Ace Close Spy skill. This alone makes the Stakeout an arguably better firearm than the ISMA, at least if you're in an armor build. Dodge players will still likely stick with the ISMA's bountiful concealment, a statistic that the Stakeout doesn't even try to compete in. That, combined with the ISMA's larger pool of modifications, keeps it on par with the Stakeout in the grand scheme of things. Still, to get the full effect of the supposedly free ISMA's potential, you'll find yourself needing a variety of DLC. Meanwhile, the Stakeout only expects its parent DLC of you, meaning if you own the weapon, you already have all the mods you'll need to maximize its power. Let's set the ISMA aside and focus on the Stakeout. As previously mentioned, the rate of fire and mag capacity allow for swarms of cops to become nothing but dust. However, the lower end damage stops this weapon from sticking its head too far into one down. While yes, it's not useless there, you're arguably better off bringing a shotgun with a higher damage statistic like the Judge. Nevertheless, on every other difficulty, the Stakeout will prove to be a potent weapon for armor players, assuming you have plenty of skills from the shotgunner tree. Moving on to the next weapon, we have ourselves the Piglet, a 6-shot grenade launcher perfect for when you want a room voided of life but don't feel like aiming. Simply fire a few shots in the general direction of cops and watch them go flying. The damage and mag capacity allow you to easily defend a choke point from all enemies save bulldozers and the occasional cloaker, and there's a plentiful ammo pool waiting in reserve. On the surface, this weapon may just seem like the best grenade launcher in the game. However, in practice, there's one major flaw holding the Piglet back, that being the painfully slow reload. The first shell takes about 4 seconds to load, followed by an extra 2 seconds for each subsequent shell. If you fire off all 6 grenades, you'll be waiting just shy of 14 seconds before you're ready to rejoin the fight. This isn't just the slowest reload of all of the grenade launchers currently at our disposal, it's the slowest of any weapon, period. There are a few skills that try their very best to alleviate this, such as Bloodthirst Aced or Aggressive Reload Aced. However, these skills have to be activated by a separate weapon first before applying to the Piglet. While assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, etc. have skills and mods that passively increase their reload speeds, the Piglet elects to give players a chance to go and grab a cold drink before resuming functionality. Still, it is a grenade launcher, which is a weapon that all players should have access to if they're looking to take on extreme difficulties. While there are better options available, the Piglet will still give you 6 deadly blasts, plenty enough to clear a corridor or send Captain Winters packing. It's worth noting that there are concealment mods available for the Piglet if you really want to use it in a dodge build for some reason. Anyways, lastly, for primary weapons, a unique weapon that this DLC would have been foolish to go without, it's the Flamethrower. I'm sure most of you are already aware of what this weapon can do, but let's give it a quick rundown anyways. The Flamethrower throws flames. That's really the gist of it. Holding down the trigger will spray a fountain of flames at your enemies, causing them to panic. Unsurprisingly, being on fire tends to do that. While panicking, cops will be unable to fire the weapons or do much of anything really apart from screaming. This extends to special enemies as well. Tasers and cloakers cannot attack you while burning, not to mention the flames burn clean through shields. While the lower damage stat may seem like an oddity at first, bear in mind both the Flamethrower's high rate of fire and the damage over time fire deals. This means that your damage output is much higher than the statistic would suggest. In fact, your damage can be increased even further with weapon modifications and boosts, or can be lowered instead in exchange for more total ammo. Interestingly enough, the Flamethrower is just barely concealed enough to work in a dodge build, in combination with optical illusions and a maximum concealment pistol like the Brunetti 9. While this is by no means a practical loadout, sprinting at intense speeds while firing a Flamethrower is downright hilarious, and that's not even mentioning the added bonus of scoring critical critical hits. It's a very fun build for sure, but realistically speaking, you're likely not going to find a player bringing this weapon for serious play, as the Flamethrower strictly falls under the for fun category of weapons, quite similarly to the Vulcan minigun. This is for several reasons, the major one being inherent by design. You're firing flames and not bullets out of this weapon, so your effective range is only a few feet in front of you. This leaves you painfully vulnerable to both snipers and, well, any enemies at any sort of distance. This, combined with the relatively low mag capacity, effectively non-existent ammo pickup rate, and slow reload, still faster than the Piglet though, stops the Flamethrower from crossing over into the world of practicality. Don't get me wrong, you're more than welcome to bring the Flamethrower, not to mention any weapon you fancy, to harder heists and difficulties if you so choose. Just be aware that you're not doing your team any favors. Allow me to propose an alternative. If you feel like unleashing the pyro within while still being an effective heister, the barbecue pack provides you with an excellent compromise: the Dragon's Breath rounds. This is a custom shotgun ammo type not unlike the ones granted through ownership of the Gauge shotgun pack. Let's get the downsides out of the way first. With Dragon's Breath rounds equipped, your shotgun loses 6 damage, 4 accuracy, and about 10% of total ammo. On top of this, your shotgun is unable to score headshots or be equipped with a suppressor. With all of that said, we can now look at the upsides. Basically, this custom ammo type allows shotguns to fire long-range beams of death. Assuming you get skills and mods to increase the accuracy and tighten the spread of shotguns, you can fire at any enemy at most distances and suddenly halt their actions and quite possibly take their life. You can achieve the same stunning effect as the Flamethrower without being limited to that weapon's poor range. On top of this, the Dragon's Breath rounds work quite well with shotgun skills such as Overkill, allowing for intense bursts of damage and stunning. These rounds are available for every shotgun in the game, but work best on weapons with high ammo counts and fire rates, not unlike the Stakeout for instance. Even if the first shot combined with damage over time doesn't kill an enemy, they're still unable to act until their personal ball of fire is extinguished. This is so powerful that it will even function quite well on one down. Even if you aren't killing your enemies, you're stopping them from killing you, which most of the time is more important. This pack also adds Incendiary rounds for grenade launchers, which severely neuter their damage but will cover the floor at the impact point in a sea of flames. Any enemies that dare try to cross it will ignite and burn to death. These fires will remain stoked for around 10 seconds before fading out, providing effective area denial on maps with tight choke points like rats. If you'd rather keep your launcher loaded with more powerful explosives, you can instead opt to bring the Molotov cocktail throwable. Tossing one on the ground will achieve similar yet more potent results. The flames will last a few seconds longer and are more deadly, melting away any units trapped inside the area of effect. While other throwables such as the concussion grenades or just plain old frag grenades are often considered to be more effective, Molotovs are still very useful for giving you and your crew some breathing room during an assault. Lastly, for weapons are 4 melee as per usual: the Mother Forker, Spatula, Poker, and Tenderizer. Out of the usual batch of mediocre melee reskins, this time around one actually stands out. The Mother Forker is very fast and has pretty competent DPS. I mean, it's still a melee weapon in Payday 2, so it won't be anything amazing, but it's a cut above the rest. And finally for this pack are the masks, being the Chef Hat, the Grog Mask, the Firefighter Helmet, and a good old Gas Mask. These masks are simply good. They all take very well to customization, yet are still interesting looking on their own. High marks here, art team, well done. So that's pretty much it. Right then, would I recommend the Butcher's Barbecue Pack? It was a close call, but in the end, I think I will. Most of the content in this pack isn't viable on the highest difficulties and is mainly meant for having fun and playing casually, which is completely fine. However, I feel that any good DLC should offer at least something that can compete on one down. That's not to say that every single weapon has to be one down viable, of course. We absolutely don't need a new OP grenade launcher or crossbow every DLC, quite the opposite in fact. I love to see variety even on one down, options that don't force all players to conform to a single meta. The Incendiary rounds are just that, and make this pack worth the purchase in my opinion. They're fun, unique, and completely usable on every difficulty. The rest of the content ranges from fun but bad to so very close, all the way to pretty good on Death Wish. So the gist of it is, if you want to light shit on fire and have fun doing it, you'll get your money's worth. If you want to light shit on fire and be effective doing it, so long as you're willing to use a shotgun with the proper build, you too will likely get your bang, or burn rather, for your buck. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.